not sure if you've heard about entrainment.
No, please.
So entrainment, if you take two grandfather clocks that are moving at, with the the arm that goes back and forth, and they're both on, moving at different rates, you put them in the same room, and over time they'll actually synchronize. They'll come in sync.
What? Two supposedly inanimate objects that are not alive.
Yep.
You're saying that they will sync up and stay in sync?
And stay in sync. That's right.
Why? How? How does that happen?
Metaphysical sciences.
Welcome to the Rhythm of Life podcast, where we explore the deeper patterns that shape our minds, bodies, and lived experience. I'm Steve Wardauer. In this episode, we're diving into something both ancient and scientific: sound healing, frequency, and the way vibration literally shapes how we feel, think, and heal. My guest is Adrian Garcia, a sound healing practitioner whose work sits right at the crossroads of neuroscience, music, and lived human experience. We talk about everything from brainwave states and stress reduction to why a single sound session can feel like 5 minutes or completely change how you show up afterward. Adrian has facilitated healing sessions for individuals and large groups alike, and his work focuses on helping people reconnect with their emotional, energetic, and physical well-being. In this conversation, we explore how sound interacts with the nervous system, how emotional trauma is stored in the body, and what it means to truly heal, not just cope. This is a conversation about becoming whole again. This episode also lives on our Vital Circuit YouTube channel, where we explore performance, recovery, and real-world healing modalities that actually move the needle. Whether you're skeptical, curious, or already deep into meditation and frequency work, this episode invites you to slow down, tune in, and feel what happens when the noise drops away. Let's get into it. Oh, excellent. Well, thanks for being here, Adrian. A neighbor of mine who I've recently gotten the chance to know you and get to know you, and my introduction to you was you did a sound healing in our parkway not too long ago when it was warm out. Now it's really brutally cold out in Chicago, which I'm never going to get used to. But you were gracious enough to do a group sound healing session, and it was so peaceful. And what was really striking to me is there were about 8 or 10 of us, I remember, and one of the people in our neighborhood, Jimmy, who's a big, burly man's man, who I didn't really think would be into it, was really taken with it. And I noticed that specifically, how he was joyous after, and he seemed more at peace after that session than I had seen him in a long, long time. Could you speak to just what is sound healing and how does it work? I mean, how did what you did with the instruments have such a profound effect on him? If you could just give us the broad strokes of that.
So sound healing is basically using sound to help bring calm and relaxation to the body.
Okay.
There's a lot of different modalities that go along with it. What I use the sound for is to actually reduce cortisol levels.
Oh.
So to bring a sense of calm. So I don't, especially here in the Midwest, I try not to bring the woo-woo into it as much.
Okay.
So it's a little bit more receptive. People are a little bit more receptive to that.
Okay.
And
how would you define woo-woo? Because I hear this term bandied about a lot, and it gets kind of misinterpreted in a lot of different ways. What does that mean to you?
To me, supernatural.
Okay.
It goes into the spiritual realm, which some people you're not really that receptive to. But what's cool about sound healing is, especially these days, it's starting to boom. A lot more people are actually really tracking with sound healing.
Oh.
Just like they did with yoga. Yoga is one of those things that, people get healed from. They stretch, they find meridian points, they find ways to heal themselves. Now sound healing is like even though it's been around for hundreds and hundreds of years. One of the first instruments was the drum.
Okay.
I should say before that would be people using their voice.
Okay.
Making flutes out of, bones and things like that. Ooh. So these types of instruments are sacred, and they've been around for a long time, and people have been using them to bring about changes for the person. But the thing about sound healing from my perspective and some of the ways that I was trained is that the practitioner is not doing the healing. The practitioner is just creating that space. So you're creating a sacred space for everyone that's there. And you're giving them that time to lean into whatever is causing them issues. And with that, they find their own healing.
So that you're creating a space for them to be the catalyst for their own healing.
That's right.
And so what I'm also picking up is that you're getting away from what you talked about, the woo-woo, which is there's some science behind this, I'm assuming.
Lots of science.
Frequencies and sound healing is a real thing. I mean, Nikola Tesla talked about frequencies, and if you want to understand the world around us, we're all made up of energy and matter moving in different ways and different frequencies. And so could you talk a little bit about the science behind this?
So we're all energy, absolutely, and we're primarily made up of water. One of the studies, Dr. Emoto, he was studying how what we say can impact another person, frequency, vibrations. So he set up in a lab these different vials of water, and then put labels of kind things on joy, happiness, beauty, and then hatred and some of these other negative things on these other vials of water. He then froze those vials and looked at them under the microscope, and the vials that had the kind words, the positive words, had these beautiful shapes, these beautiful sacred geometry shapes. The ones that were negative were all distorted. So if you think about our intentions and what we say to one another, understanding that we are energy, understanding that we are susceptible to these types of things, it's amazing at what we think, what we do, what we say really can impact somebody else.
So I think I've heard of this water experiment, because when you first mentioned it, I had a memory in my mind about this, and I had such an impact from learning about that in terms of what you say to people, how you interact with them, particularly as a friend or a teacher, for instance, or a parent. The parent's relationship with the child is so intense and so intimate that a parent can alter a child's sense of self, and which is really, really important. But we're talking about the substance that makes us a human being, which is mainly liquid and mainly water, and the words affect us so much that it's really incredible to think about that. And so, are you directing? So by what you're doing is, I guess, creating as positive an environment as possible for people to embark on their own healing. Is that somewhat accurate?
Yeah, that's accurate. Jonathan Goldman talks about frequency plus intention equals healing. So it's about the practitioner's intention. So making sure that, the intention that is set is about love, and it's about wellness, relaxation, wishing the best for your neighbor, and then using the frequencies. And different frequencies can bring people to different states, different brainwave states. So when you think about meditation, and that's where I try to do my sound sessions, I try to bring people into a meditative state, a theta brainwave state.
Okay.
So there's a lot of different things you can use.
Could you talk about the different levels of meditative of the brain state? Because I'm familiar with meditation, alpha and theta. Isn't theta one of the deepest?
Delta would be one of the Yeah, delta would be one of the deeper ones.
The deeper ones. Okay.
Then there's epsilon and the alpha, beta, theta, delta, epsilon. So beta is typically, we're in that beta brainwave state right now with us talking.
Right, where we're conscious and we're aware and we're interacting.
We're trying to process things, absolutely. But theta, delta would be when you're asleep.
Okay.
But theta is that sweet spot where time doesn't exist and you're in this meditative mindset.
Mm-hmm.
And people feel like an hour was 5 minutes. It's things like that where you just lose track of time.
Well, is the brain actually slowing down?
Yes.
It is. So the thought the patterns are slowing down. The wave, I guess, are the waves getting longer, the wavelengths in terms of the energy in the brain? And it's, I guess, I've heard this, when I meditate, you get to these slower and slower states of mind so that you can actually access different parts of your brain.
Right.
Can you speak to that a little bit, how that works?
I don't know exactly how it works.
Okay. Okay.
But I have meditated and I have gone into those types of states,
okay.
Even while I play for other people. So I get into that same type of brainwave, almost like a trance-like. So in some cases, once the session's over, if you ask me what exactly I played in what order, I can't always answer that because something else just takes over, and I'm in that same vibratory state that the other people are with me when we do the sessions.
So when you do a session, you are a catalyst for a meditative state of mind. Mm-hmm. It sounds like, without question. And from that point, what distinguishes sound healing from meditation?
You don't always use sound when you meditate, so I think that would probably be one part of it.
Okay.
Some people do, obviously, relaxing music.
Okay.
But it's playing frequencies, it's playing different instruments.
Okay.
And I really call it a journey, so I'm taking people through this musical soundscape so that people can, go wherever they need to go to. And it's not me leading them. It's them leading themselves with wherever the sounds take them.
So do people, so in terms of the healing power of what you do people come to a session with a specific thing in mind that they're looking to heal, or how does that work?
Sometimes, yeah.
Okay.
Again, what I try to position this, my sound sessions as is creating relaxing music to help people de-stress and to let people breathe for at least an hour. Everybody is so overworked and we're running constantly that just giving people a chance to have that space and lay down and take in the vibrations is enough. But going back to the intentions, oftentimes before I do the guided meditations, I'll ask people to set their intentions. So that, I have a certain type of theme and certain guided meditation verbiage that I use for the different sessions I do. But the intentions, my intentions as a practitioner is to help people. And when I ask people to set their own intentions, it's whatever they're looking to actually unlock or heal. So it could be trauma, it could be, ailments, it could be illnesses, whatever it is they set their intention to. They don't say it out loud. It's just something that they hold in mind as best they can when they go into a meditative state, and just allow them to flow wherever they need to flow to.
Well, that word actually was coming up in my mind, the flow state, which is very much in line with, that is a meditative state without question. Athletes experience this when they're in the middle of a athletic competition. Musicians, like when you were talking about when you get into a flow state when you're playing, I definitely can relate to that. That's when it gets the best, actually. And so it sounds like you are a catalyst to get people back in touch with themselves to a degree and get the stress away so that they can kind of regroup as a human being almost. Is that somewhat accurate?
Definitely. You talked about Jimmy, firefighter.
Yeah.
And we have a firefighter.
Former college football player, very tough
Yeah.
burly man.
Yep. We have a firefighter in our family too, and PTSD is a real deal. I mean,
Yes.
so,
Yes.
and some people have been so high strung and wired so tightly that just having a moment to just get the freedom and to lay down and take it in, it allows a release.
Yeah, for sure. And so now, what drew you to this endeavor? Like what if you could give us a kind of the broad strokes of your background? I know you've done well. First of all, I believe you were a reverend or are a reverend,
Yep,
right?
Yep, I am.
Okay.
I'm an officiant. Yep.
What is your general background, and how did you get drawn to this type of work?
Yeah, so that's a long story, but I started taking keyboard lessons when I was 5 years old.
Okay.
Then I switched over to the violin and then moved into guitar playing.
Oh, wow.
And I wanted to make money.
Oh, okay.
And I got into the corporate world. I became a executive technical professional.
Okay.
And I did that for probably 20 years.
Okay.
And then COVID happened.
Okay.
And I was let go. Couldn't find work in my field. Actually, any of my fields. So IT, human resources, coaching. I'm also a certified life coach.
Oh, okay.
I couldn't find work. It was terrible during the pandemic. And I reached a great depression at the end of 2022 where I didn't know what I was going to do. So then I stepped back, and I remember as a kid being really interested in metaphysical sciences. So crystals and stones and making dream catchers and medicine bags with my uncle, who really embraced our Native American heritage.
Oh, and for our audience, how do you define metaphysical?
Everything that's not physical, some things that you can't necessarily see.
So spiritual to a degree? Okay.
Absolutely.
All right, go ahead.
So I then started searching for universities that I could expand my horizon and try to figure out what exactly in the metaphysical realm would be most appropriate. And I found this school, University of Metaphysical Sciences, and it gave me this huge spectrum of modalities that I could investigate and see if does that look like me? Does this look like me? And I came across vibrational healing, essentially sound healing. And from my musical background, the two just felt like they just fit. And so then I started learning as much as I could about sound healing. So I attended free seminars, summits, and then I believe in divine timing. An inaugural sound healing program came about from the Shift Network, and it was a 14-month intensive training on both the science as well as the practical application of using sound to help people.
Okay.
That led me to another program that was more shamanic in nature, intertribal, and I was introduced to so many world instruments I had never seen before. And there's strength and power, and there's something very magical in that. I find that when I use some of these instruments that people haven't seen, it really has a profound effect on them.
Well, like what, can you give us an example of what specific type of, and we're going to have you demonstrate a little bit later after we're done with the interview, but what instruments really piqued your interest in the beginning that you hadn't been privy to before? So
what I found was, again, detoxing from the corporate world. I found that I had lost touch with nature.
I like how you worded that. Detoxing.
It's a detox.
Or people, I like this one guy I listened to who I interviewed on this podcast, Dr. Boyce Watkins, calls it the corporate plantation. But anyway, go ahead.
That's right. Yeah. What I found was that going from the corporate environment and trying to detox from that, I'm a recovering corporate person. That I had lost touch with Mother Nature. And going through the shamanic program and being exposed to these instruments that were very organic, I felt drawn to them because they had that earthy type of quality to them. Instruments that sounded like the ocean or rain or, leaves falling, leaves crunching on your feet, anything nature-wise. So I bought a bunch of instruments that were around that, little bird whistles So I
Okay.
can incorporate those into guero frogs. So it sounded like crickets when when I did some of these sessions. Shakers, rattles. A lot of it was, if not all of it, was percussion. It was all percussive instruments,
Ah,
with the exception of when I discovered the Native American flutes, and that brought in, the breath, the wind, the air element. So,
That's-
I think did I answer that question.
yes, absolutely. I mean, it reminds me of the group Earth, Wind, and Fire. I mean, you're bringing in all the elements here that reminds us of the environment that we all live in, which is a beautiful thing. And it's kind of like what you do is the at the crossroads of science and spirituality.
Yeah, that's very well said. I would completely agree with that.
And, the science of it is very intriguing to me because, like you started out saying you wanted to get away from the woo-woo. How do you describe this to people in terms of the benefits to them without having them think this is just some kind of esoteric nonsense
Right.
that is a waste of their time? How do you language that?
So again, I frame it as I want to create a relaxing, peaceful environment for you, and I
Okay.
try to leave some of those other things out. So I could go into the scientific route and talk about brainwave states. Some people have asked questions about why does this 1 hour feel like 5 minutes, and I get into some of the brainwave states, the theta, and there are tons of benefits. And peer-reviewed articles that talk about the benefits of drum circles. It shows that using drums within a nursing setting can help retain staff. So if you think about this in broader perspective, corporations, if they brought a sound healer in or a sound practitioner into their office, help their employees out, maybe they'll actually have a better chance of retaining them.
That's so funny to think about a corporate environment bringing this type of a situation in with these type of instruments, but that has happened.
It hasn't happened to me yet, but I haven't tried. I haven't looked for it.
But somebody has done this.
I'm sure.
This has happened. Wow, that's really interesting. And so you think that will foster a more positive environment? Is that generally what would happen? I would imagine it would.
Yes, I completely agree. I think it would.
Yeah, that's amazing. And so drum circles I think correct me if I'm wrong, but logically there would be an energy exchange between the people that are in the drum circle. And there's some sort of a group energy. And how does that play out? I was going to ask you this, and then we can come back to the dynamic you were mentioning before that you wanted to touch on in our Parkway earlier. But how does a group session differ from an individual session? Are there individual sessions for sound healing? I would imagine there are.
Sure. So there could be one-on-one sessions using tuning forks or therapy harps, things like that. Group sessions, going to the drum circle that you were talking about, you're in a community. You're coming together as a group, and you're in that same rhythm, and it creates I'm not sure if you've heard about entrainment.
Please.
So entrainment, if you take two grandfather clocks that are moving at, with the the arm that goes back and forth, and they're both moving at different rates, you put them in the same room, and over time they'll actually synchronize. They'll come in sync.
Wait. Two supposedly inanimate objects that are not alive.
Yep.
You're saying that they will sync up and stay in sync?
And stay in sync. That's right.
Why? How? How does that happen?
Metaphysical sciences.
Seriously?
Right.
Now I've heard of human beings, particularly with women, for instance. Their monthly cycles will start to sync up if they spend more and more time with each other and they start living together. I've heard of that, but I've never, ever heard of inanimate objects syncing up in this way. And this is a real phenomenon.
Oh, yeah, definitely. You could Google entrainment with grandfather clocks, and you can get the information about it. The thing about...
and so that plays itself out in a group setting, a group sound healing?
You're all getting into that same state. You'll see it at parties too. You could walk into a party and, maybe there's, some people might be a little, apprehensive of getting out and talking with other people.
Sure, yeah.
Over time, though.
That's why people smoke cigarettes.
Right,
never
sure.
alone with a cigarette.
Or drink or whatever it is. But what I've seen is some people can impact the mood of the group, either positively or negatively, and entrain everybody into that particular type of mood. So
That is for sure. Yes. Wow. I didn't even think about that. And so you wanted to get back to the group dynamic that we had in the Parkway in terms of nature and things of that nature. What did you want to talk about?
Well, first off, I found it I found it so rewarding. I remember walking past George Street with my wife and seeing the bands play. And I thought that was so amazing. I loved the idea of coming together as a community and creating this type of vibe.
And you're referring to the Georgia Palooza, the
that's
concert that we started because we were losing our minds during the pandemic.
Right.
So myself and another neighbor, Justin Baller, and my wife Christina, we really organized and put together a concert of about 4 or 5 bands, and it was an incredible coming together. I'll never forget how grateful people were. And so go on. So you saw that.
It was beautiful. I mean, that was exactly, I loved the whole vibration. I loved the whole concept. And later, when I was going through my program, one of my teachers, Joshua Leeds, he touched on something called sonic activism. And that means going out to communities. That means going to, it could be assisted living. It could be going to war-torn countries and bringing that music, those vibrations to those people or to the people. And that really struck me. It just got my mind moving around. And it's like, why not do a free community sound that like you guys were doing from a concert's perspective, but from a sound healing perspective, a little bit different, creates a different type of vibration.
Yes.
But then if you speak in music, Musicians Without Borders is another interesting organization. So that's something that people, can be a part of, and it's amazing. The other area that I'm really interested in is using sound to heal or help our environment. So this could refer to help healing our oceans, animals in captivity. So you imagine going to a shed aquarium or going to a zoo and playing for the animals, or using sound to help generate root growth and nutrient absorption in our crops. So to help benefit our plants. There was a book that was written a long time ago, or not that long time ago, but The Secret Life of Plants. And they were able to find how...
Is it The Sacred Life or The Secret Life?
Secret
The Secret Life of Plants?
Yep, Secret Life
That
of
was
Plants.
the name of an album by Stevie Wonder. I'm not kidding you. And it was a very off the beaten path type of sound for him. Just as a digression, I was a really young boy and I went into Woolworths and I found this double album for like on the clearance rack. And I'm like, oh, Stevie Wonder, I've heard of him. And he's one of my favorite artists. And I listened to this double album called The Secret Life of Plants. And it was all these sounds that you'd probably find very intriguing. You should probably check out this album.
I'm going to have to check it out.
Yeah, and so that's why he said, so anyway, the book is called The Secret Life of Plants. Go on, I'm sorry.
Well, and they just show that, plants have, nervous systems. They respond from their environment. They're made up of water just like us. So, I mean, they feel, And so, again, going back to the sonic activism, I believe there is a way, and some people are actually studying how to use sound to help heal bodies of water. So again, think about frequency plus intention. So our intention is to help heal this particular environment. We use the frequencies and it should help. So I think of it as a bigger...
Has there been any quantifiable evidence to show that it has helped and it can really enhance these natural environments?
I don't have the studies on hand, but yeah, there have been studies to show the benefits. There's a device called Sonic Bloom. It's a company you can Google, Sonic Bloom.
Okay.
And you could put that into your farm by your crops, your home garden, and it'll actually play these sounds that benefit the plants. So again, like I talked about nutrient absorption or root stimulation. So
Okay.
it'll, this could be bird sounds, it could be nature sounds, but all those different types of sounds actually have a positive impact. You can also think about using those sounds in these indoor vertical farms. So since you're not out in nature, you can actually use these bird sounds and other nature sounds inside these particular types of, buildings and potentially stimulate your crops.
Amazing. That's just blowing me away because, we always hear about how people are vibrating. Are you vibrating on a certain level? Are you attracting a certain type of energy? And, I can tell when I'm in a certain mood, and if you want to call it vibration, you kind of get what you put out there to a degree. And that's why people oftentimes will meditate in the morning or do a practice of gratitude so that they're vibrating in a certain way. And it seems very logical to me. It doesn't seem so out there, as we discussed in the beginning of this interview. It seems extremely logical that it's energy and we're vibrating light, water. I heard about this experiment where people had spoken to plants in different ways. And it was amazing. And the plants that got harsh talk didn't do nearly as well as the plants that had loving things said to it. And but what struck me as intriguing with what you mentioned before, there were like labels put on different, I think either plants or water. Water. And so what's interesting is how would the water know that those words were either bad or good? Water can't read, but it would be more believable for me if water reacted based on the tonal quality of what somebody was saying to them. But the words on the glass or whatever the water was contained in, that blows me away. How does that work?
Well, we're all energy and we're all connected to everything in our environment. So
maybe the energy someone had when they put it on there and they knowing and that got transferred.
That goes to the intention, yeah. I remember when I was going through my coaching program, we had to write something down on a piece of paper and hold it and walk around the room with what we had. And it was what our deepest fear, our deepest self-reflection is or was. Some people wrote victim. Some people wrote, some very, self-conscious things. And we had to walk around like as if we were in a party. And I remember the exercise was meant to teach us what the negative self-talk will do to us. So if we consider ourselves a victim, that's going to create a certain mindset.
For sure.
And it's going to continue to perpetuate itself. So similar to how you would, potentially put a label on a vial of water or a plant. If we do that to ourselves, sometimes we just, we move into that direction.
Well, it's interesting because what you're saying and describing, I've been thinking about for years in terms of what someone actually believes in their soul, to the core of their being. And what really struck me, I heard about this experiment that was done, and it was a well done scientific experiment by an actual doctor that had people. It took a group of folks that had Parkinson's disease, half given a placebo, half not. There was no difference between the people that had a placebo when they had their medication versus getting a placebo. They reacted in the same exact way because they believed that the placebo was the actual medicine that they normally take. So when I heard that, it's one thing to hear about your belief and your intention, and it kind of seems over there for a lot of people, honestly. But when you hear something like that, it's hard to deny that there's a paradigm that we are just scratching the surface of.
I think science is starting to slowly catch up to what, the human race has probably already known for the longest time. They're starting to be able to prove it. So when we talked about, getting away, like how do I get people into this thing that might be esoteric nonsense, the science helps us open that door.
Right.
And then it's just understanding the balance of, okay, how far do I want to go on this with the science before we get to the sound? How much information do I need to give you to show that there is validity to this? And I find that just because it's becoming more mainstream, people are talking about it more, and these scientific articles are being put out, peer reviewed, people are becoming more receptive to it. And it's hard to deny it. Not to mention, if you just go through a session, and how do you feel afterwards? How did you feel before? How did you feel afterwards? And people can, the proof is in the pudding.
Yes. Yeah. And that's the thing. I'm so glad that I was able to, well, you did too. And I wasn't able to make the first one. And I was really kind of frustrated that I wasn't able to make that. And I remember talking to my wife, Christine. I said, please let me know if he does that again. I want to participate. I will make room in my schedule to do that. That's very generous of you to do that. And we were all sitting out in our parkway, which, just to give you a little description, it's like a cathedral of trees that used to be a bird sanctuary. It's a very unique place, and just outside of Chicago, in a parkway that's a block long, and there's only one way in and one way out, so there's no through traffic. So it's pretty peaceful, and there are a lot of trees, and that's where we held our concert, the free concert that we referred to earlier, called the Georgia Palooza, because we're on George Street. And so you had everybody lay down, and you really set the mood really, really well. And I, went into this meditative state, which was really beautiful and peaceful and calm. And there was a lightness afterward. There was a feeling of joy and a feeling of connection. And I'm telling you, I really noticed it in Jimmy. And I really noticed it in my wife. A profound shift in terms of who she was being. Like, her being is what it affected her at her core level, and she still works in the corporate environment. And so stress is just part of the program. And she's already kind of a high-strung person, and I think we balance each other out in that. But I remember distinctly how wonderful it was just to be in her presence. And there was all that feeling of kinetic energy that's oftentimes in her aura was not there. And it was just, and I was observing this consciously afterwards. And she just had this, she was kind of radiating something, and I couldn't really explain it. And I was like, wow, this really, could you speak a little to that, the effect that you see in people?
No, it's beautiful. And it was amazing. We actually had 18 people that night.
We did?
Yeah, we had 18 people. And I mean, it was so beautiful. I usually use nature sounds in my sessions, but we were outside, and I just played right along with nature. So the wind, the cicadas, I mean, it all just became part of the birds. It all just became part of our set. Yeah, different things come up for people. Like you said, for your wife, she was in this kind of nirvana state. Some people do leave blissed out. They're kind of in this, they're just vibing. They're so relaxed that they kind of just stumble through the door. I've had people see relatives during the journey that I take them on. Some people have gone back to their childhood. Some people come up after the session and they're literally in tears, talking about how profoundly it moved them. So it's everybody reacts a little bit differently. The biggest thing that comes up is wondering how an hour feels like 5 minutes. Or we just laid down. How is this over already? And they look at their clocks and like, oh, no, an hour actually went by. So it's really profound to see how it impacts everyone.
I bet, do you guide people to have specific memories or experiences at all?
No, some people describe some of the stuff I do as cinematic. So that could create, that it's, I always describe these things as musical journeys. And I actually name my journeys walks. So I always thank people for taking a walk with me. And I mentioned earlier that one of the things I was trying to get back to was Mother Nature. So the first one I created was Earth Walk with all these different types of earthy instruments. I then decided to do the elements. So to follow up with Earth Walk, Sky Walk. So you got Mother Earth and Father Sky.
Okay.
And then Spirit, Fire, and Water to complete the elements for these different walks that I take people on. And I designed this set so that when people come in, they're instantly taken into that, oh, this is a place of relaxation. If it was, disorderly, if it didn't have that nice mood, we're visually, are attracted to these types of things. And that as soon as you see it, the aesthetics, people already start to relax. They're like, oh, this is different. This is really interesting. This looks really calm. And that already is the catalyst to start getting people to move into that particular type of state.
And so have you, what was your first brush with sound healing? Did you go to a session, and how did that play out?
Yeah, so I was, I actually had this Facebook post that popped up. Again, I believe in divine timing, and it was just so cool. It said, come to this sound bath. I'm like, what's a sound bath? Do I need to bring soap? So it's one of those words that became like, people are knowing what sound baths are now.
Right.
I tend to try to stay away from that, but call it whatever you'd like, And so I went to a sound bath, and everybody brought their yoga mats, and they're all laying down. My wife and I were the first time for us to see this, and we didn't know what this was about. But we love sound, and I was getting into vibrational healing, understanding more about it.
Okay.
And they had a bunch of gongs and a bunch of instruments, a didgeridoo, really cool different instruments that I'd never seen before, shruti boxes. And we got there late, so we had to sit up in a chair, so it wasn't the most comfortable time, but we closed our eyes, got into that meditative state, and it took us on an amazing journey. And then we found another place that was doing these sound baths.
Well, what was so amazing about it, if you could describe that?
So I was just getting into meditation, and what I found was being in that particular environment, the sounds brought me into a deeper state. Those particular live sounds and those particular instruments. Gongs can be a hit or miss for some people. Some practitioners will overly bang them, which is obviously not good.
Right.
But some people actually use something called a flumi, and it's like a super ball that's attached to a stick. And they create these cavernous whale sounds and other things that bring about this really relaxing environment that takes you really deep, or took us deep anyway.
And so how did you feel afterwards?
The first 2 times I did it, I felt tired. I felt out of it. It felt like a buzz.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. And we found that what we ate before we would go to a sound bath made a difference. We found that we needed to hydrate a lot after we went through the sound baths.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know.
Because you mentioned that before.
Yeah, I think it's the release. Whatever releasing, it requires a lot of hydration to balance ourselves out.
Interesting. And is there anything that in your life that specifically that you've needed to heal? And I mean, because I would imagine people come to this after experiencing some trauma in some fashion. I remember, my brother-in-law became a chiropractor, for instance, because he had really bad migraines, and the only practitioner that could help him was a chiropractor. And he was amazed that he could find relief. And so he became a chiropractor, and he was an excellent one. Is there something that triggered something in you that drew you in this direction that happened to you? I'm
sure there was. I can't specifically say what exactly was being released, but we've lost dear loved ones in our life,
Of course.
as everyone has. So that's always there. And then when I lost my job in 2020 and I couldn't, I essentially lost a piece of my identity. There was a death of self that happened during that time. So I think there was still a lot of that I was trying to release as well.
Yes. And so how has that been going since then?
Oh, it's great. Every time I do a session, the practitioner gets the healing as well as the participants.
I bet. And so, there's so many things going on. There's so many aspects to this. And I'd love to, it's funny. One of the things I wrote down was going to ask you, do healers need healing? And I'm going to imagine, of course they do, because they're human beings. Everybody needs healing. And do you do, like sometimes massage therapists will give each other massages. Do you have a particular sound healer that you go heal with?
No, actually right now I'm just really busy with my own practicing. So it's, when time allows, I might go and check out how they're doing. But really, just doing the work myself, it feels good.
And so now I know that, I bet it does. Now you go to, you do some of your sessions at a yoga studio, which seems to be an appropriate place.
So it's a, we like to call it a wellness hub.
Okay.
So it's called Namaste of Mind. It's in Lincoln Park.
I like that.
Namaste of Mind.
Uh-huh.
And so there's, Pilates and reformer machines and yoga and breath work, guided meditations, stretching, and sound healing. And some people use crystal bowls, some people use Tibetan bowls, and the stuff that I do. So I'm there almost every week, unless there's a bear game that prevents something from happening. But mostly I'm there every week.
We've covered a lot of ground, and this has been really, really great. What other things should people know about this and other parts of it that are interesting, fascinating, or just helpful for people to understand?
So sound healing and the instruments that I use, there's some snobbiness that kind of happens with some of these instruments. And I would say that people that are interested in sound and music, we can get healing from, a favorite song or a band. It doesn't need to be some of these, very specially tailored instruments that are associated with sound healing. So I think if you're a Dave Matthews fan or, Ozzy Osbourne, whatever it does it for you. Okay. If you actually feel better after listening to whatever that music is, go for it. Keep doing it. And this is just, it's just another form of the modality for sound healing. So I guess what I would advise people, or not advise people, but I would recommend or suggest, just check it out, and don't just go to one, check out couple different practitioners and see what you think.
Yes.
And if it's crystal bowls and they drive you crazy and they don't like that, check out something else and keep exploring. Because there is healing there. There is relaxation there. I believe that, again, if we're so overtired that if we just take an hour, to relax and have that space to take a break and to breathe. I always say in my sessions, take a breath as if it was the first time today you had a chance to take a deep breath.
I remember that distinctly, and it was very profoundly affecting me when I did that. I was like, and same with Christina, my wife. Yeah, and that really made a huge difference, just to consciously think about it. But when you say relax, what comes up for me is, this isn't just about relaxing, say, in a traditional way on the couch. This is a proactive relaxation that actually gets your brain to slow down in a way that is very, very helpful, as opposed to sitting on the couch watching some TV, and that can be relaxing or what have you. But this is something distinctly different, where you're guiding people to alter their their state of their brain, really.
Their state of their being, absolutely.
Yeah, and it's a very distinctly different thing. And when you're talking about frequencies, I don't know if you're probably familiar with this, that the distribution of music, the frequency has changed. We changed that proactively for some odd reason, and it used to be more, I guess, healthier, for lack of a better phrase.
Oh, yeah, music compression. The streaming just kind of destroyed. There's so much sound and so many sounds from a live recording, say from a vinyl record, that you can't get from streaming. So, somebody listened to a vinyl record with all these different sounds in it versus a compressed streaming album or song. You're going to notice the difference. It's going to impact you differently.
But also, wasn't it the way in which there's a certain level of hertz of 440 or 432, and it got changed at some point for some reason to be uniform with the world?
Yeah, there's a lot of debate around that.
Oh, okay.
So I don't really subscribe to it, but yeah,
Okay.
440. It was decided that would be the what we would tune our instruments to. So a 440 hertz.
Yeah.
And then, 432 hertz is what some people allege that the Earth is, humming at 432.
Oh.
And so it's, some people say, no, you have to tune your instruments to 432 if you want to actually have that real impact for healing.
Oh, wow.
They've done some studies on that where they've shown what 440 hertz looks like from a cymatic pattern. Cymatic patterns are basically if you put sand or salt on a metal plate and take a bow and bow that particular metal plate, patterns will emerge. 440 looks a little skewed, while 432 looks like the flower of life. So some of these, these sacred geometries, that the yogis see when they meditate, you're able to, they're able to see them just by humming certain tunes.
Well, it brings us back, I guess, for me, to the thing you talked about in the earlier part of this conversation, where the labels were on the vials of water, and then they froze. I wonder if there was an experiment done with this different frequency, and what would happen. I bet they'd be more geometrically beautiful with 432. I have a feeling.
There's another one of my instructors, John Stewart Reed, who does a lot of, he taught a lot of the science. And he did an experiment where he took vials of blood, put it into a closed area, and targeted sounds to the blood.
Okay.
It was actually two particular singers that he was using for the sounds. And he found that there was more viable blood cells following the sounds that he did with these vials of blood. So then if you think about how that could be applied to blood banks, to people in general, I mean, it's miraculous.
You're saying that the sound generated more blood?
It actually created more viable blood cells. So when you have these vials of blood,
okay,
not all of it. It's.
Oh, I see. So it actually, was this experiment suggesting that it was healing the blood to some degree? Huh.
And generating more viable blood cells. Yeah.
Think about how that would play out inside a human being. Oh my gosh, that could maybe help people who have cancer of the blood. Unbelievable.
And those are the studies that are being done now. So that's what's so fascinating and amazing about it, is that science is finally catching up, and they're able to prove the viability, the efficacy of using sound to help people. Wow. And it gets into more specifics. So, we talked about hertz and frequencies. Some people say that 128 hertz is used to help people alleviate pain. There's different hertz that, are associated with the organs of the body. There's a lot. There's a lot that you could go into.
I bet. We're just scratching the surface here, but this is a really good introduction. I think this is great. And now you've also brought along some instruments, which we'd love to have you demonstrate if you'd be so kind to do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So if you'd like to just tell us a little bit about the instruments and demonstrate them, Adrian, that'd be great.
Sure. Well, this is just some of the instruments that I have. There's a lot. But I always start with the chicapa when I come into a sound session. And what I'm doing is the chicapa is a Peruvian tool just to clean the area and to create sacred space. So we create sacred space now. So this is a chalice, a double chalice Tibetan singing bowl, and I typically follow with this. And what's cool about this instrument is you can actually hover it over people's bodies. We talked about entrainment earlier, and getting people into that particular theta brainwave state, and this is what's called an ocean drum. So if you think of this going on for several minutes, and me walking around the room with playing this next to people, it really creates that, it breaks up energy, and it creates that particular meditative state. Moving on to the Native American drum, this is a buffalo drum, black earth buffalo drum. Go into the Native American flutes. So this is a drone flute. One side is a flute, and this is just basically a single drone. So you can start out. This is a little rattle, and I tend to use this with my hand pan. This is a B Celtic minor hand pan from Axiom. So this is a interesting Native American flute. It's actually a folded Native American flute, which is cool because with people with smaller hands, they can actually play a lower Native American flute. So I mentioned earlier in our interview that I was drawn to these instruments that sounded like nature. These are seed pods. So again, something else to connect you to nature. This instrument is a therapy harp. People use these in hospitals. They'll play alongside someone that's sick and trying to heal. Sometimes the harp will be placed on the person's chest. In the session with going back to the chalice bowl. So you think of the chalice, the Tibetan bowl, as the start of the spiritual musical journey, and this is bringing people back. I did forget about these. Sorry. Before I end with the chalice, I go to the koshi chimes. So I'll walk from person to person. So that's it, at least for these instruments, but there's a lot more out there, especially in my house.
Thank you for tuning into the show. If you enjoy this podcast, make sure to subscribe to hear more compelling episodes on Rhythm of Life, and keep an eye out for our upcoming series of how we as a society often incentivize all the wrong behavior here in the United States. We see this in the healthcare industry, the media, and in our educational systems, to name a few of the fields we will be covering. We will also be launching another podcast very soon called Ambiology that takes a look at the left-right political spectrum from a historical perspective. It will be a deep dive into this paradigm that is conventionally thought of as static, but has shifted significantly over time. Ambiology will also examine the significant role public relations, also known as propaganda, has played in shaping perspectives on critical issues in the country. If you have a moment, please leave a rating and review so more people can hear about us, and share about Rhythm of Life on social media, and like us on Facebook. Thanks for listening. I'm Steve Ordauer.
This has been a Rhythm and Light production.